Husband's been secretly working on a second home in another state to hide his affair from me, and if I don't just keep talking I'll freeze and start labeling my feelings like pantry jars. I'm Rhea, I'm 35, and I'm a residential architect, which makes this whole thing either cosmic comedy or a very specific curse. Because I spend my days drawing homes that tell the truth about how people live, and somehow I miss that my own marriage had a blueprint taped under the table marked for alternate use. Only, it began with a paint chip, the wrong color in the wrong pocket. Not lipstick on a collar, not a text from Babe Crescent Moon, just a swatch of a shade called Salt Meadow with a penciled note in my husband's handwriting. Primary bedroom? Good morning, light. Eli is 37, a paramedic with gentle hands and a heroic allergy to passwords. He's never written primary bedroom in his life. He says master because change makes his mouth drag its feet. The note was like hearing your dog speak French. A small, polite terror. I found the swatch while doing laundry, that domestic archaeology where you learn your person by lint. The back of the swatch had a logo from a boutique paint store in Haven Falls, which is 3 hours away and famous for its antique shops, its lake, and the kind of people who use veranda with a straight face. I set the card on the counter, finished folding towels, and felt the card stare at me. As an architect, I know the smell of a project. This smelled like primer and permission. I could have asked him that night. Instead, I did what women like me do when the house shifts underfoot. I made soup and a spreadsheet. The soup was potato leek because stirring is a metronome for courage. The spreadsheet had 2 columns labeled facts and story because adjectives cannot be trusted in the first 12 hours. Facts: paint chip from Haven Falls, Eli's shift swaps lately, the new travel thermos he claimed was a gift from the guys, 2 weekends he said he was covering overtime, a receipt in the trash for tolls that don't exist on our side of the state. Story: his building something somewhere I'm not invited. I stared at the lonely sentence until the soup said to stop. On Tuesday, I called the paint store. Hi. I chirped like a woman who doesn't mind being a cliché. Do you offer designer discounts? I'm an architect and my client fell in love with Salt Meadow. The woman on the phone sounded like her earrings were heavy. Of course, she said, we love working with architects. Who's the client? Eli Hart, I said, which felt like throwing a glass and smiling. He was in last week. She checked. Yes, that was for the Willow Street project, right? She said the name without guardrails because why would you need them when the world is ordinary? Yep, I said, a gymnast sticking the landing with a broken ankle. Willow Street. Thanks. Willow Street is a map coordinate in a place I didn't live. I pulled up county records because public information is the kindly aunt of suspicion. There it was, 411 Willow Street, a narrow lot, a 1920s cottage with a knee-braced porch, sold to Silver Birch LLC, an anonymous shell with a registered address at a mailbox store, the corporate equivalent of sunglasses indoors. My stomach did a slow elevator descent. Then I clicked the permits. Demo permit pulled 2 months ago. New water line. Electrical upgrade. A contractor I recognized from a trade show. The name on the permit: contact, E. Hart, site liaison. That's when the floor of my mouth went missing. I didn't cry. I printed. Printing is crying you can stack. I printed the permits, the assessor's photo, the Google Street View with a truck I recognized parked in front, Eli's faded navy pickup with the dent that looks like Nebraska. I printed the LLC registration and highlighted the registered agent's name, because he once used this guy to buy a kayak off Craigslist because I like to be careful. I printed the paint chip order, rushed 12 gallons, and stapled it to the top like a small, expensive flag. The next morning I drove to Haven Falls with a tape measure in my purse like a talisman. The town was exactly as advertised: seasonal flags, a bakery where the bread looks smug, a woman walking 3 matching dogs on a leather lead like she's the CEO of something charming. Willow Street was 4 blocks from the water, a row of houses wearing their centuries with good posture. 411 had a new dumpster out front, fresh lumber leaning like gossip against the porch, and taped inside the front window the luminous rectangular truth of a drawing set. Architectural plans. My trade. My language. The paper looked at me, and I looked back like an animal recognizing another animal. The door was open to air out the dust. A man in a bandana and bootcut jeans stepped onto the porch holding a reciprocating saw like a bouquet. He smiled when he saw me because men are more likely to smile when they think they are being helpful than when they are being observed. "Can I help you?" he asked. "I'm meeting Eli," I said, which was true enough in the spiritual sense. He nodded toward the back. "He's around," he said, and went back inside to cut reality in half. I stood there on the porch and pressed my fingers into the railing. The paint flaked. Layers revealed themselves like the rings on a tree, blue, cream, a green so old it remembered smoking indoors. I walked in. The house smelled like pine and beginning. The living room was a ribcage of studs and hope. And there, on a makeshift table, were the plans. I didn't have to unfold them to know I would recognize the hand. Eli can't draw. He has always bragged that his stick figures look like they just learned to walk. But he can trace and he can commission and he can say, "My wife's an architect, she'll help me understand," and get someone to translate his wanting into a house. The title block said Silver Birch LLC 411 Willow, Interior Gut Plus Porch Rebuild, Designer, Paige Lowell. Paige. If a name could wear lip gloss. Rear. Eli's voice hit me from the kitchen, startled and softened by sawdust. He came around the studs carrying a box of tile like pennants. He looked like a man who had rehearsed 20 explanations and realized none of them knew the lines. He put the box down carefully, as if setting it too hard would make the floor tell on him. "What are you doing here?" he asked, which is a sentence husbands ask when they want a time machine. "I'm visiting our second home," I said. "Primary bedroom has good morning light." I tapped the plans. His eyes did a small panic dance and then a stillness I recognized from scenes at accidents where he has to be the calm. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay. Sit with me." He led me to the porch because fresh air is a complement to truth. We sat today. He looked at his hands. "I've been stupid," he said. "And selfish. And romantic in the worst way, the way that destroys other people's mornings. I was going to tell you next week. Or tomorrow. Or after the porch was done because I thought a porch might help." He nearly laughed at himself and then remembered the cost. "Why here?" I asked, because chronology is a lifeline. "Why a house?" He rubbed the back of his neck, the way he does when he's apologizing to a patient for a needle. "Because I wanted a place that wasn't full of things I'd said and never done. Because when I met Paige, she talked about rooms like you do, like they can heal people. And I thought if I built something with my hands, maybe I could become the man I wanted to be in it." He winced. "And because I've been unhappy in a way I didn't understand how to say without sounding ungrateful." He looked at me. "And because I was a coward." "Did you hire her to design it?" I asked, tapping the name on the plan, keeping my voice like a chalk line. "I didn't hire her," he said. "I met her at a CPR class she was teaching for the sailing club. She liked the way I talked about houses and the way I fold bandages. We had coffee. Then we had more coffee. Then she showed me this place on a walk because her friend owns the contracting company. She said, 'You could make this beautiful.' And I heard it wrong. I heard, 'You are beautiful if you do this.' I bought the place through the LLC so I could tell myself it wasn't a betrayal, it was an investment." His mouth tilted in a self-hating smile. "That's the kind of lie you use when you want to be both wise and wild." "And Paige?" I asked. He nodded, a tiny, shame-thick bow. "Yes," he said. 3 weekends. And lots of planning. And the kind of sentences you say in old houses because old houses make you feel important." A nail gun chattered inside like the world endorsing a beat. I watched a bird land on the telephone wire and scold the morning. I withheld every metaphor I wanted to throw at his head. "So you built a house as a blindfold," I said. He flinched again. "I built a house as a detour," he said. "And I told myself I would exit back to my life when I'd earned it." He covered his face. "Who talks like that?" "Me, apparently. I have never been interested in heroics. I am interested in verbs." "You're going to end the project," I said. "Today." You'll tell the contractor to pause and you'll sell the LLC to me for $1 or transfer it or burn it. I don't care how clever you've made this legally, I'm cleverer. You'll stop staying here. You'll stop calling it anything but what it is. And you'll tell Paige, not in a poem, in a sentence. You will tell your brother, because I will not carry the public version of this while you hide behind work. And you'll leave the house we live in for 10 days. And after 10 days, we'll sit with a therapist while she turns us both into nouns we hate. And I will decide whether I want to live in a world where a porch is a romantic gesture and not a return address. He nodded like a man ready for stitches. Okay, he said. Okay. And, I added, because once you start installing joists you finish the room, you will give me your passwords. Not because I think I want to spend my life being your hall monitor, but because transparency is a cast, not a cure. You will delete whatever app you think is connoisseur-grade secrecy. You will text Paige while I sit here and end it. Then you will go to your therapist appointment that I will make for you. Then you will go home, pack a bag, and find a couch somewhere that isn't a building site for a dream you didn't have permission to fund. He pulled out his phone like it weighed his brain. He typed a message that didn't audition for forgiveness. I lied to myself and to Rhea. I'm ending this. Don't contact me. He showed it to me. I nodded. He hit send. He called the contractor and said, stop. For now. He called his brother, who said in a flat tone that parents use with the dog, bring beer. And humility. We stood. He brought me the drawing set, the paper warm from the sun and alarmingly beautiful. They're good drawings, I said, which felt like complimenting the accuracy of the knife. They are, he said. I wanted them to be. He swallowed. I wanted to be the kind of man who deserved them. At home, I put the plans on our dining table and sat with them like I sit with clients who hired me to fix the room where the fighting lives. The plans smelled like toner and intention. My hands knew where to touch and where not to. The primary bedroom did have good morning light. The kitchen was a corridor, it would make for lovely arguments. The porch, my God, the porch was perfect, 8 feet deep, beadboard ceiling, a swing you could read a life on. The house wasn't evil. The use was. He left for his brother's. I called a therapist named Dara because I liked that her bio used words like repair and ritual and did not mention journey. I called a lawyer friend and asked exactly what to do with an LLC that had turned into a revelation. She laughed softly, a brown sugar sound. You mean the mistress house, she said, then apologized. We made a list. I made another spreadsheet called Stay Geo because apparently I am a woman who builds checklists when the world is a fork. Under Stay I put my practice, my dumb orange bicycle, the neighbor's child who loves our cat, my Thursday yoga class that is 60% gossip and 40% hamstrings, the friends who say I'm on my way before I finish asking. Under Go I put the marital myth where being a paramedic makes you an automatic hero, the story where a porch can redeem a lie, the shape of my apology reflex. Paige emailed me. She apologized without making herself the protagonist, which was both decent and irritating. I want you to know I'm a coward who wanted to be brave and chose the wrong theater, she wrote. I won't contact him again. This isn't a pitch for your compassion, it's just me moving my mess to my side of the street. I did not reply. Silence is sometimes the most precise boundary. The 10 days tasted like metal at first, then like sunlight after a dental cleaning. I slept on his side of the bed and it felt like a room had given me a key. I went to work and designed a mudroom for a family of 5 like it was my job, because it is. I wrote in a notebook with a horror movie title, Post Porch, and made a rule for myself, no metaphors after 10 p.m. or before coffee. I sat on our own tiny honest porch and watched the mail carrier do her rounds with the brisk grace of a woman who knows where every secret lives but keeps walking. We saw Dara. She asked him to narrate his build step by step without adjectives. He did, met Paige, coffee, bought LLC, signed, lied, demo, paint, stayed again, planned, choked on telling me, rehearsed, didn't. She asked me to narrate my find step by step without self-flattery. I did paint, chip, search, call, drive, walk in, plan, porch, verbs. She put 2 lists on the table and said, both of you love maps. The problem wasn't the route, it was who got to hold it. She gave us homework titled Wednesdays because we told her Wednesdays used to be when we felt most married. Early pizza, dumb TV, feet tangled. The homework was to make Wednesday a ceremony where we each say one thing we want without pretending it's small. Large wants are allowed in craft form, she said. You can want fidelity and you can want an 8-foot deep porch. You can say both. He showed up with receipts. Literal ones. He returned the tile. He refunded the last contractor draw and paid the crew out of his savings so no one lost. He brought me bank printouts without me asking. He told his mother himself. She called me and tried to turn his childhood into a defense, and I said kindly no, and she thanked me for being firm. He stopped pretending that scheduling grief between 12-hour shifts makes it smaller. He took on fewer shifts. He started staying home on Saturdays and doing things like cleaning the vacuum's filter without posting about it in a husband group. We decided about the house. I bought the LLC for $1 and $1's worth of dignity. The contractor asked if I wanted to continue. Not as a love nest, I said. As a rental. A place that pays for itself without using up my heart. I hired a different designer, my friend Nalini, whose work is beautiful and not entangled with my sleeping patterns, and gave her the budget. Make it kind, I said. Not romantic. Kind. She laughed and then designed a kitchen that looks like it knows when to hand you water. Paige moved to a different state, or maybe she didn't, but she vanished in the way some people do when the light is done with them. I didn't hate her. I rationed my hate for things with agency, like decisions. The porch got built because porches deserve to exist even if they are misused. We kept our Wednesday ceremony. Sometimes it was just frozen pizza and a list of truths said like inventory. Truths like, I thought about driving to Haven Falls today. I wanted to check her Instagram and then I threw my phone into the laundry basket. I like the way the morning light looks in our primary bedroom too. People ask me if we made it, like marriage is a cliffhanger and I owe them a season finale. Here's what we did, we stayed for now, which is the only honest tense. Eli learned to say I wanted to lie as a complete sentence that doesn't require applause for stopping. I learned to let a house be a house and not an omen. We took the word master out of our mouths permanently and praised primary like a slow victory. He shows me his calendar without sulking. I show him the part of my work that has nothing to do with being impressive and everything to do with making a mudroom bench that catches a bad day. We touched the hurt enough times without licking it that it stopped being a trick and started being memory. The rental on Willow now has a little brass plaque on the porch that says no parties. It makes me laugh every time, not because I think life is tidy, but because sometimes you are allowed a joke on the other side of pain. Guests drink coffee on that swing and post photos of the beadboard ceiling with captions like dreamy, and I don't try to vault over the screen to correct them. Dreamy is a language too. We pay a cleaning crew who leaves a little card on the counter that says, "You were here," and the first time I saw it I cried a very calm tear because yes, I was and I am and I plan to be. If you're me 2 months ago, holding a paint chip that sounds like a shoreline and feels like a verdict, here's what I can put in your pocket. Write down your facts before you give your fear a bullhorn. Ask for verbs from the person who made the mess, not metaphors. Remember your job. Even if you don't draw houses for a living, you build something, a calendar, a morning ritual, a friend who will sit on your stairs while you say, I think the house is lying to me. Tell one person who likes you more than they like drama. Don't burn paper unless the fire is for you, it rarely is. Let yourself be boring. Sleep, eat, bathe, email a therapist with the email subject Wednesday. Decide slowly unless you must decide fast. Both are brave if you are honest. Here's tonight. I'm on our porch, small, truthful, 6 feet deep, with a glass of seltzer and a pen behind my ear. Eli is on the living room rug building an IKEA shoe rack with the quiet concentration of a repentant 10-year-old. He looks up at me the way a person looks at the horizon from a place they built with their hands and are finally allowed to keep. The sky is doing that pink smear it borrowed from a tourist brochure. A neighbor's wind chime decides to be generous. I tilt my chair and let the light pour down my shins. The house doesn't feel like an accomplice or a witness. It feels like a house. I take the paint chip from my notebook and hold it to the evening. Salt Meadow is exactly the color the sky turns when you fully know that you are staying on purpose and also could leave if you needed to. I tuck it back and call inside, "Hey, Wednesday, are we doing pizza?" He grins and says, "Primary, obviously." And I roll my eyes and love him not because we are fixed but because we are ordinary together in a way that could last.